Anime is a unique medium. Since most of them are adaptations of manga or light novels, they are reliant on the source material. So, if a manga is really long, then the anime won't be able to cover everything in just one season. But sometimes anime only get one season, so even though there can be room for more story, fans will sometimes have to read the manga in order to see the conclusion. There are a ton of shows that only have one season with no chance of a season 2, despite there being a large fan base crying for more. This is the plight of the No Game No Life fan. But there is hope, because not every anime is No Game No Life. There are shows that get second seasons after years of dormancy. Classroom of the Elite Season 1 aired in 2017, and Season 2 aired in 2022. ReZero's first season aired in 2016, and Season 2 in 2020. And one of my favorite anime of all time, Origairu's Season 1, aired in 2013, Season 2 in 2015, and Season 3 in 2020. That is 7 years between the first episode and the last episode. I'm sure that we all have that one anime that we really want to get a second season above all else. But I am actually proud to say that the one anime that I wanted to get a second season above all else actually got one this year. Season 1 came out all the way back in 2017, which was 6 years ago. And I have personally waited 3 years for this. But what anime am I talking about? Well, that would of course be Masamune-kun's Revenge. So sit back as I explain why I love this series so much and why I really wanted that second season. Masamune-kun's Revenge was written by Hazuki Takeoka and was illustrated by Tiff. It was first serialized in October 2012 through June 2018 in Monthly Comic Rex. Fans of mine should recognize it as the magazine that published My Wife is a Student Council President. Off to a great start. As I briefly mentioned earlier, the anime adaptation made by Silverlink aired from January to March 2017, and the second season aired from July to September 2023. Okay, so that's enough about the background. And as you can see, I am very excited to talk about this one. But why? So, let's get into the plot summary so you can find out. Masamune Makabe is a 16-year-old boy who is obsessed with fitness. He works out constantly and makes sure to eat right. But he wasn't always like this. 8 years ago, he was pudgy and fat, so he was bullied a lot. However, he had one friend who was there for him, a rich girl named Aki Adagaki. Aki helps Masamune defeat his bullies, and because of this, Masamune develops a crush on her. One night, he brings her flowers and calls at her window, but Aki calls back declaring, "I'll never fall in love with you. You're just a pig's foot." Masamune is devastated, and after spending 8 years with his grandfather, he is now back in his hometown with a new, hotter and slimmer body. He is excited to make his high school debut with his new physique, but he makes a discovery. The girl from so long ago, Aki Adagaki, goes to the same school, and she is up to her old tricks, rejecting every guy who asks her out while giving them a humiliating nickname. Now, Masamune has a goal to make Aki Adagaki fall in love with him so he can swiftly and brutally reject her, just like she did to him 8 years ago. All in the name of revenge. This premise is different from other romance anime out there. Yes, Masamune is trying everything in his arsenal to get Aki to fall for him, but he's not doing it with the purest of intentions. And Aki is playing a villain role, especially given her tsundere-esque tendencies. These characters have more rougher exteriors, and Aki is no exception, so you definitely want to see her get her comeuppance in the story, especially after you see the harsh and borderline sadistic things she does to the guys who ask her out. There is also a good sense of humor, because Masamune isn't good at flirting. All of his ideas come from shoujo manga, which, who would do that? So, he gets assistance from Koiwa Yoshino, Aki's maid who wants to see her get humbled by rejection. So that's the premise, which I think is enough to draw any romance fan in. But, as we all know, romances are only as good as the characters in them. So,
let's talk about them.
Masamune is a fun male lead. He is very narcissistic and egotistical, so he has a lot of moments where he'll grin and say things like, "This is where it all ends." But since he's an idiot and doesn't really have that good of a plan, it will usually end in his failure or in a way that is positive for him, but not how he planned it. Being able to laugh at Masamune's failures and cheer on his success is what makes him a good lead, and I cheer him on a lot.
I don't know about you, but I've been rejected before, and it frickin' sucks. And the idea of getting revenge on the person who wronged me is really cathartic. But these aren't pure intentions. Hurting someone is still hurting someone, even if they're not a great person.
The show does a great job of bringing this up, though. The show doesn't solely vindicate Masamune. It does it in the beginning by showing how nasty and bitchy Aki can be, but as the series goes on and we learn more about Aki, and with the introduction of Neko, who we will talk about later, we see that maybe Masamune is the asshole after all. This gives the show and Masamune depth. He's not solely a hero. He is somewhat of an anti-hero, which gives him more character than your typical romance MC, and he definitely learns and grows more than your typical romance MC.
Wow, it's actually quite rare for me to spend this much time on the main character. Normally I spend all my time talking about the main girl. Which, speaking of, let's talk about the cruel princess herself, Aki Adagaki.
Aki Adagaki is a very prim and proper rich girl who cares about her appearance. She also has a reputation for hating men, but she comes off as sweet towards the girls around her. Namely her 3 friends who are barely relevant but overly mean to any guy who hits on her. However, she has a secret. She eats a lot. While she always starts lunch by eating with her friends, she always sneaks off to gorge herself on a feast of high-calorie food procured by Yoshino. Now, normally the trope of, oh, the pretty main girl eats a lot only exists for humor and doesn't add much in terms of character. A good example is Itsuki from Quintessential Quintuplets. Itsuki eating a lot is a gimmick that the show leans into to give her a quirky personality, but it doesn't really add much. Sometimes this trope does work, however, like how in Toradora, Taiga is constantly hungry because she doesn't know how to feed herself properly without Ryuji. But it is still used as a gimmick because she has a small body. Like, how does she eat all that? Where does it go? The use of this trope in regards to Aki, though, is actually the cleverest I have seen. See, everyone around Aki comments on how attractive she is. So, despite Aki eating enormous amounts of food, she is still thin and attractive. Now compare that to Masamune. Masamune has to watch what he eats to maintain his physique. And the show does a great job of illustrating this by pointing out if a food is high in calories whenever it appears on screen. So, here we have our protagonist who is traditionally attractive, but has to diligently work to maintain being attractive, pitted against someone who is equally attractive, but she gets to eat whatever she wants, and it is always a comical amount. This makes them opposites and helps to narratively put the two at odds. Aki's actions also help to justify why Masamune should put her in her place. She straight up calls a dude disinfectant cleaner and rag, and in her introductory scene, she gets on the roof with a megaphone and spills a dude's darkest secrets to everybody while flying a massive banner with a cruel nickname on it. She definitely sucks. However, she is gullible and vulnerable to her maid Yoshino. Yoshino and Aki have been together since they were kids. Aki does get Yoshino to do things for her a lot, and Yoshino does them for her because it is her job, but while it isn't super apparent at the beginning, Aki definitely cares for her, and Yoshino cares for Aki right back. But Yoshino can be a little devious. So, citing wanting to humble her master, Yoshino sides with Masamune, and when Aki and Masamune go on a date after a battle of test scores, Yoshino instructs Aki to go in full cosplay. Aki is embarrassed, and at the end of the date, we get a classic lucky pervert trope where Masamune walks in on Aki changing, gets knocked out, and wakes up in Aki's lap, which helps further Masamune's goal of revenge.
The date between Aki and Masamune is actually really standard in romance anime. The two main characters always end up going on a date that isn't actually a date. But while this part isn't necessarily original, it's still enjoyable. I personally love watching Masamune get punched, and the lap pillow is great at sowing the seeds of Aki actually having feelings for Masamune, which Season 1 loves to play around with.
After the date, Masamune feels really confident that he can execute his plan, so he starts laying it on very thick, which pushes Aki away again. So Yoshino instructs him to do the opposite and play hard to get, which infuriates Aki. Aki is upset that Masamune keeps ignoring her when all she wants to do is return the umbrella he gave to her while he was being super clingy. And while she runs from him, Masamune pulls her out of the way of a moving car, saving her life. And as the two hold each other, you get the feeling that this is it. This is the moment where it all comes together. And then a woman steps out of the car apologizing for almost hitting Aki, but when she sees Masamune, she immediately declares her love for him.
Masamune-kun's revenge does the will they won't they thing really well. Just when you think things are going one way, the show will throw you a curveball and then everything is backwards. The introduction of this new character gives Aki a much needed rival. But who is this new girl and why does she claim to love Masamune?
This is Neko Fujinomiya, another rich girl who has just transferred into the same school as Aki and Masamune. The day that Neko arrives, she tells the girls in her and Masamune's class that she has loved Masamune ever since she met him years prior. However, this is a lie because Masamune would still have been fat when the story was taking place, and he was skinny in the flashback that we and apparently the girls in the class saw. So Masamune immediately doesn't trust her. And there is one other person who also doesn't trust her. Neko goes to challenge Aki in her class, but the wind has other ideas, so Neko flashes Aki completely because for some reason, Neko doesn't wear any panties. Trust me, this is 100% critical to her character. And Masamune was behind her, so he got a nice view of her ass.
Neko adds a good amount of drama to the series. Now, Aki's gonna have to decide on her feelings for Masamune quickly before Neko steals him away. And Neko is dead set on being with Masamune. And the thing is, Masamune doesn't even like Aki. Every time he confesses to her, he's lying. So he should have no problem getting with Neko. But since he caught her in a lie, he doesn't trust her. Which is very hypocritical because Masamune's been lying to Aki this whole time, and he still wants her to fall for him.
There are also other similarities between the two. Neko is very health conscious, which is why she doesn't wear any underwear. No, seriously, that's the reason she gives. Which matches with Masamune caring about his physique. Masamune's mom, yes, that is his mom, anime was a mistake, also says that the two are similar when Yoshino and Neko come over and Neko starts taking medicine at the dinner table and Masamune pulls the breading off of the tempura. This is meant to signal that maybe Neko and Masamune are a better match than him and Aki because, as I said earlier, Aki is his opposite. Well, while over at his house, Neko steals a photo from Masamune's room. It is a picture of him and Aki when they were kids. Evidence that he is pig's foot. So Masamune tries to get it back by going over to Neko's to confront her. She doesn't deny having it, and she pulls it out from between her breasts and attempts to seduce him. Masamune rebuffs her advances by explaining his plot for revenge against Aki. And then Masamune leaves with a heartbroken Neko behind him.
This scene in Neko's bedroom is amazing. It adds a ton of drama and also injects a good amount of ecchi fan service with the way that Neko is dressed. It also adds a ton to the narrative. Now, Masamune must pick the path he wants to go down. He can either quit it all and be with Neko, or he can continue on with trying to get revenge on Aki, which might not bear fruit the way he wants. But Masamune goes with revenge because he knows what the name of the show is, but I still can't help but feel bad for Neko.
After Masamune rejects Neko, he goes to hang out with everybody the next day, but Neko's guardian confronts Masamune about what he did and where Neko is, because she has gone missing. Aki is surprised to find out that Masamune was with Neko the day before, because before Masamune went to Neko's, he was with Aki, and since he was preoccupied by thinking about how to get the picture back, he wasn't paying attention to her, and she stormed off upset. So now, Aki is upset that Masamune was with Neko when he has been going on and on about liking her. So, Aki goes in search of Neko despite hating her.
Quick note, I know it seems like a stretch to use the word hate when Neko hasn't really done anything to Aki and Aki hasn't really done anything to show hate towards Neko, but trust me, she hates her.
Masamune and Aki end up at the school together, believing that this is where Neko is. Masamune confronts Aki about why she cares so much, and she says that she feels bad for her because Masamune rejected her, and it hurts to be rejected. Coming from Aki, this infuriates Masamune. With a stern look on his face, he asks Aki if she remembers giving a boy the nickname Pigsfoot, and runs up to the roof where Neko is.
I didn't explain this earlier, but the reason why everyone is in such a rush to find Neko is because she has a bad heart and she doesn't have any of her medication. Also, Neko being on the roof gives slight undertones of her wanting to kill herself. Now, the anime doesn't explicitly state that this is what's happening, but there are some slight nods that this is what would happen if she wasn't found in time, which is a very dark twist for this rom-com to take, but I actually think that this extreme reaction to being rejected parallels Masamune's actions. Dude got rejected 8 years ago, and now he is spending all of his free time trying to get revenge. From spending time with Aki to plotting with Yoshino behind the scenes. His whole life revolves around getting revenge, which is a little messed up in its own right.
Neko goes to the hospital, and there she has a talk with Masamune. She tells him about her condition and how she wants to fall in love. She also tells him that she picked him out of a lineup of potential suitors and that she doesn't really know anything about him. I will tell you right now, this is a lie. Neko actually knew Masamune when they were younger, and Neko has loved him ever since. Neko liking Masamune for who he is actually undermines his whole philosophy. Masamune is full of himself because he is now attractive, and believes that being attractive will make him successful. But Neko doesn't care. She likes him regardless. Neko also brings to light the fact that Masamune's plan can fail, telling him, "You used love and affection to hide your true intentions. Are you going to end up like me?" This strikes a chord with Masamune, and he decides to commit himself more to getting revenge, and does the only thing he knows how to do: run away and exercise. After Neko's talk with Masamune, she speaks with Aki, and Neko urges Aki to admit her feelings for Masamune. This affects Aki as she is in her courtyard of her mansion late at night, and as she is about to figure out her feelings, a figure appears before her. Masamune is back after a month of training in the mountains, and he is ready to make Aki fall for him once and for all. But to his surprise, she is with some fat dude. Masamune is stunned and tries to confront Aki, but Aki ignores him, and her friends, oh yeah, I almost forgot about them, get in his way as well.
Masamune completely missing Neko's point and running away into the mountains is stupidly funny. Aki was so close to breaking, and if Masamune would have confronted her again, she probably would have went for it. But he had to run away because of his obsession with himself and his muscles. But who is this?
Son of a bitch!
This is Gaso Kanetsugu, but Aki calls him Masamune. Hey, what a coincidence. Gaso claims to be Aki's fiancé, and Aki doesn't disagree. This puts a wrench in things, so Masamune has to do something about it. And with the cultural festival right around the corner, the battlefield has been decided. Masamune's and Aki's classes both decide on performing Snow White, with Masamune playing the prince and his friend Kojiro playing the princess to his dismay. Yes, I said his. Anime was a mistake. And for Aki's class, Aki will play the princess and Gaso will play the prince. The two classes will have a battle to see who can perform Snow White the best. On the day of the play, Masamune is kidnapped by Aki's friends. He is also sick. I don't know how important that is overall, but he is. Aki's friends believe they have won the day, but don't forget, Yoshino is on Masamune's side. So, unbeknownst to everyone, Yoshino kidnaps him as well. Aki is crushed, saying that he bailed on her again. just like before. And then Aki says to move the performance forward, even without a prince. This is symbolic of Aki's own morals. She hates men, and she is capable of things without needing one, so she performs the play without one. But we all know the story of Snow White. Without the prince, the princess is destined to be asleep forever. So Masamune goes on in Gaso's place, and in the most hype moment in Season 1, plants a passionate kiss on Aki. He then gets punched, but a kiss is still a kiss. So score 1 for Masamune. After the play, the gang goes out for karaoke and does the trope where the characters sing the opening of the show, which is one of my favorites.
By the way, how's the OP? OP1. It's good, and it holds a very special place in my heart. And since we're here, I might as well. I can't believe I get to say this, but OP2! It's okay, which is a little disappointing. I really wanted this one to be outstanding. And how are the EDs? ED1. It's okay. ED2. It's still okay, but better than ED1.
At the end of episode 12 of season 1, things have changed a little. Masamune is determined as ever to get his revenge despite there being another man in his way, and he is plotting his ultimate revenge at the upcoming French trip, as season 1 ends on a cliffhanger. Well, except for episode 13, which for some reason adapts chapters from the end of the manga, so the anime spoils itself a little. There isn't too much said. Aki has shorter hair, that's about it, but we still get left at a cliffhanger at the end of episode 12.
Remember how I said that season 2 took 6 years to come out? Yeah, that cliffhanger was dirty. As soon as I finished season 1, I ran to the manga and I finished it within the same 24 hours because I just had to know how this one ended. The ending of Masamune-kun's revenge is a roller coaster. There are so many twists and turns, and the drama is cranked up a notch. I really wanted this ending to get animated, but there was no concrete evidence that that was actually ever going to happen. That was until April 2nd of 2022, when it was revealed that Masamune-kun's Revenge was getting renewed for a second season that was gonna air in spring of 2023. It then got delayed until summer that year, but I don't blame them. That first trailer looked rough. But how did this happen? I mean, I'm not complaining. I got everything I wanted, but it's still kind of strange. Why is this anime that no one talks about but me from 6 years ago getting a second season? Well, it seems strange until you realize that in April 2023, the same year that the anime was supposed to start airing, there was a new manga titled Masamune-kun's Engagement added to Ichi Jinsha's Kamikawa website. A new manga coming out at the same time as a new anime season. I wonder if one might be marketing for the other. Despite the corporate greed that may or may not have caused a miracle to happen, I am very happy with this second season. But enough about me and how I feel. Let's actually talk about the second season of Masamune-kun's Revenge.
Season 2 opens up with the French trip, and Aki tells Masamune that she has to tell him something. So the two spend most of their free time together while Yoshino distracts Gaso. While hanging out, Masamune and Aki run into a French girl named Muriel, who loves Japan and is actually writing a manga. So she wants Masamune and Aki to help her research Japanese couples. The two refuse because 1, they're not a couple, and 2, they hate otaku. I take offense to that. Anyway, the two are eventually pushed into helping because Muriel's brother has ties to the Yakuza. So Masamune and Aki pretend to be a couple, and while the two are together, Aki opens up with her backstory. When Aki was younger, her parents were going through a divorce, and her parents kept fighting over who would get custody over her. Not because one loved her more than the other, but because the one who got Aki would be the quote-unquote winner of the divorce. But that isn't how divorce works, and certainly not how parenting works. Aki's only friend at this time was Yoshino, who was also her maid. But one day, Yoshino gets chickenpox and Aki is isolated from her so that she doesn't catch them. Aki is now alone. Her parents are fighting and are only showing hollow love towards her, and her only friend is forbidden from seeing her. But then, a small, chubby boy runs up to the gate of her mansion, crying because he is being chased by bullies. The boy's name is Masamune. Aki goes with the gate and with the help of her two dogs, Sean and Lancelot, chases the bullies away and helps Masamune and the two become great friends. They played with each other all the time, but then one day, Masamune left without a word, and Aki grew to hate men because of this betrayal. However, Gaso Kanetsugu is Masamune. It used to be his nickname, and now he has returned and Aki is in love with him.
Upon hearing this, Masamune is very confused because he's Masamune, not Gaso, and he didn't just leave randomly. He left because Aki rejected him, but she's acting like that didn't happen, and she doesn't even remember Masamune, but she claims that she does, and it's someone else?
In a rage, Masamune yells that Aki deserves everything that happened to her, causing a rift to form between the two.
Aki's backstory is very important because it gives us a reason for her behavior, because tsundere-esque characters always have a reason. I keep saying tsundere-esque because she's technically a himedare, but the tsundere core is still there, giving that she's not true to her feelings, and they handle her very much like a tsundere. And you know what a tsundere is, so it's easier if I just describe her like that. But if you want to know specifically what a himedare is, I have a video that explains it. Anyway, back to Aki. In her case, her rough exterior comes from her loveless upbringing and also the boy she liked running away from her. Her backstory also helps set up the wrinkle in the story. Muriel also helps with this wrinkle. Muriel is only really important during the French trip and directly after, but her role is essential to Masamune figuring out what is going on. Muriel is an outsider looking in, and she is also a writer. So, she is looking at Aki's backstory as if it is just that, a story. And the logical narrative conclusion is that Masamune and Aki would reunite and their love would flourish. But that didn't happen. And after Masamune receives Muriel's manga draft, he starts to wonder how it could have ended up like this. I mean, Aki gave him that nickname. Or did she? Because Masamune asked Aki if she remembered giving a boy the name Pixfoot, and she acted like she didn't remember, but he didn't imagine it. Yoshino remembers it. Wait, Yoshino.
Yoshino was the one who gave Masamune the nickname. She was jealous of Aki and Masamune playing together and wanted to get rid of Masamune. So, while Aki was in bed the night that Masamune came over to give her the flowers, Yoshino put on a wig that belongs to a doll that Aki had that conveniently looked exactly like her, and Yoshino rejected Masamune, just like he remembers. And the reason why Yoshino was helping him to get with Aki wasn't because she wanted to humble Aki, it was because she wanted to make up for her actions by getting them together like they always should have been.
Yoshino being the one to reject Masamune is the first major twist of the series, and it is a damn good one. There is a mystery as to why Aki doesn't remember the name Pixfoot, and this being the answer gives the series a boost of drama that the back half of this series lives off of. There were also hints at this being the case. In episode 10, Masamune is screaming about Aki rejecting him, and Yoshino, who he is with, actually apologizes. It also makes sense that Yoshino is trying to fix things because she is the driving force behind the plot. She is the one that comes up with all of Masamune's revenge plans, she is the one that helps push Aki on the dates, and she makes sure that the dates go smoothly by keeping other characters away that might try to mess things up.
After Masamune discovers the truth, he runs to where Aki is, screaming obscenities the whole way. But where is Aki? She is with Gaso, and Gaso is determined to make this the moment when his plans come to fruition. I haven't actually said what their motives are yet, but Basically, Gaso's sister is sick, and due to circumstances, his family doesn't have the money to pay for her treatment. So, Gaso is planning on marrying Aki and using her for her money to pay for his little sister's treatment. But just before Gaso can make his move, Masamune shows up. He punches Gaso in the face for impersonating him, and then he turns to Aki, angry at her for not recognizing him, as he declares that she should go out with the real Masamune. It is then revealed that Gaso is actually a girl, and I have been tricking you this whole time.
Also, two things about Gaso actually being a girl. There's this throwaway line in episode 11 where Masamune goes, "Is he even a dude?" And that line doesn't make any sense until you realize that he's actually correct to question it. And two, the cultural festival was the battle of the two Snow Whites, with Masamune and Kojiro, two guys, going up against Aki and Gaso, two girls. So, the cultural festival was a battle of Yuri versus Yaoi.
After Masamune declares that, Aki accepts by saying, "I wouldn't mind going out with you," which is what Masamune said to her all the way back in episode 2 after Aki watched him reject Futaba. Oh yeah, Futaba had a thing for him in the beginning. Also, Futaba is a character that exists.
And so, our main characters are now finally together. But does Masamune even like Aki? He was only saying all that stuff because he wanted to get revenge, but he doesn't hate her anymore because she didn't do anything, and he doesn't want to hurt her. So they start dating, and Masamune tries to be the best boyfriend he can. One of my favorite parts of any romance manga or anime is the moment when we get to see the two main characters end up together. It always leads to cute and wholesome moments. And since Aki and Masamune spent a season and a half bickering, it is nice to see them as a couple.
My favorite moment of their first date together is where the shop they were going to go to is unexpectedly closed and they can't find a new spot to go to because it is Christmas. So they go to Masamune's place, and since Aki is an insatiable black hole, they decide to cook something. And then Aki finds a box of pancake mix, which is what they were going to eat at the restaurant anyway.
Back when I first read this, I loved this panel of Aki holding the pancake mix. Her expression is something that we have not seen from her up to this point, and it just makes me happy. But between then and the anime coming out, I had completely forgotten about this panel until just before she found the pancake mix. And then I got really excited to see one of my favorite manga panels again, but this time animated. This is what joy looks like.
Aki throws a bunch of sugar onto Masamune's pancakes because she misses the old Masamune. So he takes her to his room to show her his workout equipment. Working out is Masamune's identity. It is all he had after the rejection, and he likes doing it, so he wants Aki to accept who he is now. Then we get a lucky pervert moment, and Masamune starts feeling ill. As he's in the bathroom, presumably shitting his brains out, he texts Aki to take her present and go home for the day. And as Aki grabs for her present, a notebook falls out of Masamune's bag, and it opens to a page that reads, "I will get revenge on that woman." As Aki leaves, Masamune realizes that he now has hives where he touched Aki earlier, and he declares that he is allergic to Aki Adagaki. Masamune goes to Neko and asks for advice, and she explains that Masamune's hives must be the result of burnout. Masamune's whole goal was upended by the twist of Yoshino being the one who rejected him, and now he has found himself in a relationship he isn't sure he wants, with no idea of what to do. After hanging out with Neko, Masamune runs into Yoshino, and Masamune comes to a realization. She doesn't make him break out into hives. Then, Masamune hugs her, saying, "I never should have went out with her," which angers Yoshino.
Just when you think this series is going to become a super cute romance after our main characters are finally allowed to be together, they throw a twist at you. Masamune is doubting his feelings for Aki, and Aki now knows about the whole revenge plot. This series went from a revenge rom-com to a soap opera really quickly, but it is super compelling. I knew what was going to happen the whole time, but I was still on the edge of my seat, and especially when we get to my all-time favorite part of the story.
Neko confronts Aki about her relationship with Masamune. Masamune is being physically affected by the relationship, so it has to stop. But even with Neko begging, Aki refuses to break up with him. Then Neko uses her trump card. Masamune doesn't love her. He only wanted revenge. Revenge against the woman he hated. But Aki already saw the notebook. She knows everything, and yet she won't break up with Masamune because she loves him. Masamune and Aki have been going out for a while. Things were a little rough post-Christmas, but Valentine's Day went by smoothly, as Masamune tried his hardest to be a good boyfriend to Aki. He even decided to stop training so hard and eat junk food along with her on their dates. Now it is White Day, the holiday 1 month after Valentine's Day, where the boys give return gifts to the girls who gave them chocolates. Masamune picked out a gift with the help of Kojiro, and he is ready for his date with Aki. During the date, Aki takes Masamune to an out-of-the-way convenience store. There, they meet up with one of Masamune's old bullies, who apologizes for tormenting him. This was all planned by Aki to help Masamune get closure on wanting revenge. After the surprise, Masamune goes to give Aki her present, but Aki shuts him down and breaks up with him.
Wait! I thought she wasn't gonna do that! I thought she told Neko that she loved him and wasn't gonna break up with him! So why?
Masamune isn't at school for days, and his friends get worried, so they go visit his place. Masamune's house is a depressing scene. The dishes are piled up, Lollyhag is crying, calling for her son, and Masamune's sister has barely eaten. The friends find out that Masamune ran away to his grandfather's house, just like he did 8 years ago. Yoshino confronts Aki about why she broke up with Masamune, and Aki drops a bomb on the audience.
Yoshino is in love with Masamune, and Aki broke up with him so that Yoshino could have him. So, let me get this straight. Neko asks Aki to break up with him, and she's all like, no, I love him, nah. But then she immediately turns around, and she's all like, oh, my maid likes him? Yoshino, you take him. Man, what a beat! Remember earlier when I said that Aki hated Neko? Yeah, I didn't believe it at that part initially, but after reading that, I believe it. In the beginning, Aki is painted as the villain as she brutally rejects men, but after her backstory, you are meant to be sympathetic of her. But after what she just did to Neko, she deserves the title of cruel princess.
As Masamune chills at his grandpa's house, he has a powerful conversation with an image of his past self. Masamune is able to reconcile with his past and realize that he is a better and different person now. But then Yoshino, at the behest of Aki, shows up and gives Masamune an impassioned kiss.
The twist that Yoshino likes Masamune is actually foreshadowed quite a bit, because remember, she was the one that recognized Masamune at first and not Aki. And Yoshino spends way more time with him plotting his revenge than Aki ever did when they were hanging out. And even Masamune admits that he had way more fun hanging out with Yoshino than he ever did with Aki. So this does come out of left field, but it still makes sense.
Aki is heartbroken, but she believes she did the right thing. But she is a female character in a romance that went through character development, so goodbye hair. This is a tired trope, but actually matches with Masamune losing weight after being rejected. Aki is convinced that Masamune and Yoshino are dating as they head into the new school year, but Yoshino tells Aki to head to the school, and when she does, she finds Masamune there, who confesses to her. Masamune shut down Yoshino's confession because in the end, he realized his feelings for Aki. And after his final proper confession, the two share a kiss, which makes Aki scream for some reason.
In the manga, it is so unclear why Aki screams there. My theory was always that Masamune was using tongue, but the anime actually gives me more insight and might confirm my theory, because we see Masamune lean in a little bit and then he even makes a little noise right before Aki screams. So, glad I waited 3 years to get closure on that one. Masamune-kun's Revenge is a fun romance with a ton of twists at the back half. And all of the characters are well written and all of them are important. Some less than others, but I feel like they all serve their purpose. Kojiro develops a small crush on Neko near the end, which gives him something to do. All of Aki's friends get a purpose when they're trying to keep Masamune away from Aki, and even Aki's dad's secretary, who I didn't bring up until now, serves a purpose by being the one to mistake Gasso for Masamune, giving her the idea to impersonate him. And I can't believe I didn't bring this up yet, but the music in this series is phenomenal. It makes use of a real orchestra with real sounding instruments that you can actually individually pick out. A booming timpani gives the dramatic scenes this weight to it, and wind instruments gives a whimsy to romantic scenes. You have got to give some of these tracks a listen yourself. Masamune-kun's Revenge means a lot to me. I wanted this second season so bad, and I'm so glad that I actually got it. And not only did I get to watch it, but I got to talk about it on my very own YouTube channel. 2 dreams of mine coming true in the same year. And if you would like to support my dreams, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. Sayonara.